All right, and welcome back to the Mad Sopranos Men Show. We're your hosts, Chris Brodhead and Michael Dennis. We are the most autistic Sopranos show on the internet. We're also the most autistic Mad Men show on the internet because we are reviewing both shows one episode at a time. This week, we are up to season 2, episode 11 on The Sopranos. That's going to be House Arrest, March 26, 2000. Over on Mad Men, that's going to be The Jet Set, October 12th, 2008. Chris, how you doing today?
I am doing quite well. Uh, I supremely enjoyed both of these episodes,
Yeah, these are awesome.
and I mean, once again, I want to say at least halfway through. I always watch Sopranos first and then Mad Men. I was halfway through Mad Men, and I was like, "There's nothing. There's not a single similarity." And then, and then, and then I mean, I have like 10
Yeah,
that just exploded with this.
yeah, yeah. It's really interesting how that happened. Like I was kind of the same way. I was doing the math in my head, kind of leading up throughout the week, and I know I mentioned this before, where it's like I'll watch one episode and then I'll have in the back of my head like what the next episode is going to be, like the next Mad Men or whatever Sopranos is, and I'll go through the episode in my head and I'll be like, boy, is this where we hit the wall? I don't I this is it, right? There's nothing here. And then
Yeah,
I'm 20
yeah.
minutes into that, and then I'm 20 minutes into that episode, and I'm like, I can't even write fast enough. There's so many of them. They're starting to compile upon themselves, like.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm really trying to even expand, like, the, uh, the things that I'm focusing on.
Mhm.
I found one that I'm gonna be pissed off if you noticed it as well. Like, I found one that I wasn't even tuned into before.
Yeah.
I've tried to, like, I'm super tuned into the structure and the kind of one-off characters, and now I'm like, I'm gonna focus on the music. I feel like there are music
Ooh.
similarities that are going
Uh-huh.
to fucking gonna spin your mortarboard off.
All right. Yeah, that's a level I have not gotten to. Mainly because music is none of my business. But
That that's what I
no,
told
no,
Erica.
no,
Erica
you're
was like, "Do you think Mike's gonna notice that music?" I was like, "No, he doesn't know anything about music."
no, no. It's my biggest blind spot in the entire world. I
Dude,
just I
I
just
I know barely anything. Your wife Jenny has introduced me to more bands that I like, and I haven't
yeah.
spoke to her in 4 years.
Yeah, I haven't been in the same room with her in 4 years. But before we go any further, like you said, I really love both of these episodes. I remember we were in Chicago for a while there. You were like borderline obsessed with this episode of Mad Men. I remember
Yeah,
you being
yeah.
really into it and just I'm like, man, I can totally picture Chris just running out west and living with a bunch of gypsies for a few years like Don. This totally lines up perfectly with his
Yeah.
personality.
Yeah, it's, that is a tricky path to express to your wife who watches these episodes with you.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, I fucking love this Mad Men episode. It might be, like, my favorite one." She's like, "Oh, really? Why?" And I'm like, "Oh, like, the
Uh, uh,
pageantry."
I like the power. I like the power play that Duck gives in The Office. Um,
That's
and I
he's
like
just playing 4D chess, and god damn it if I don't respect him.
and I love when Peggy gets her new haircut. Those are my two favorite parts of this episode. It's definitely not when Don goes and lives a sex filled life with a bunch of gypsies who are rich and who don't.
Well, while his primary playmate's dad cheers him on in the room.
He has like high fiving him in the room. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's just dive right in. Here's something right off the top that I don't think you connected. If you connected this, I'll be really upset. Both of these episodes start off with a giant pile of trash. Richie tips over a garbage truck on a problem customer, and then Jane recites her personal poetry to Roger. Just like
Yeah,
two
yeah.
giant piles of shit. I was having I'm watching that scene with Roger and Jane, And I'm just having flashbacks like every time in my life I've been dating like a younger woman or an artistic younger woman, and they want to share their art with
So
you.
deep. You are
And you just
so
have to
deep,
sit there and
honey.
be like, wow, wow. Mm, mm.
My
I
God.
I never thought of it that way before, especially when Jane's like, our souls are the same age. It's like, oh my God, how do you not keep from just laughing in that moment?
Yeah, you would think hearing something like that would snap Roger out of making such a gargantuan mistake. You're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
no, she is a child.
Yeah, yeah, and
You
then
should
even
not marry
his, like,
her."
attorney or whatever is like, "Do you have to marry her? Like, you gotta marry her? Like, why? What's the point of that? Like, what why? I don't understand." Oh, and he's definitely going to marry her. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was right off the top with me there.
Okay,
Chris,
alright,
what else what
I
do you
got a
got?
question for you. I
Yeah.
got a question for you based on this. Um, worse show of talent, Jane's poetry or the special effects wizard behind the trash pile that isn't even a fully, like, distinct they didn't even take a picture of a trash pile. They took a picture of, like, 3 feet by 3 feet of trash and then
Yeah.
just, like, Microsoft Paint, like,
Yeah.
cloned it. I was
It
like,
look
"That is the shittiest."
it looks so bad. It looks so
Like
bad. In season 3, after Olivia dies, we have a scene with her where they bring her back with CGI, and that looks terrible too. I don't understand, like, because you watch that scene, I watched it a couple times, and I'm with you where how bad it looks. Like, could they just not get clearance to dump a bunch of produce in a parking lot? Like, was that not in the budget? Like, I don't even understand. Like, you couldn't have gotten a filled dumpster somewhere in the state of New Jersey to dump over in a parking lot and then get some interns to brush it up.
Yeah.
I don't understand how we how that was the that was how we got to that shot.
Yeah, I would love to hear the story behind that.
Yeah.
They're like, "We've got 15 minutes before premiere."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, did they get all the way to the end and then and like, oh, we realized we forgot to shoot the scene in the parking lot? Like, did they just forgot it off the shot list?
Yeah,
I have
that
no idea.
was
All right, Chris,
strange.
let's hop into one of yours. Just right off the start, and I do want to know something that's kind of juxtaposing in these two episodes, and that is the visuals. With Mad Men, we have a lot of California. It's sunny, it's bright, it's colorful. And over on Sopranos, the episode's called House
So
Arrest.
gray,
It
so
is
gray.
all grays. It's Junior's moldy house. It's the garbage facility. It's actual garbage. It's Melfi's office. I mean, the visuals are completely juxtaposed in these episodes.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, very, very stark contrast. And I appreciate the Northeast and really anywhere north of the Mason-Dixon line showing us what it's truly like to live there. Because sometimes I flirt with like, oh, maybe I could live in New York. And then I see what the weather's like for 9 fucking months a year, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, right. No, I can't do that.
No, I'm not doing that. Yeah, and on top of that, it's 10 times as expensive as everything else.
Yeah.
Chris, what do you
Uh,
got, man? You got some good ones. Let's go. Kick it over
yeah,
to you.
yeah. I have both episodes have key interactions at swanky country clubs.
Mhm.
You have Tony at his garbage man's ball, and Don
Great
at
line.
the and Don at the JPL
Mhm.
Pasadena swanky pool.
Yep. Yep. To piggyback on that, both men pass out.
Yep.
Tony goes down at the garbage man's ball. Don goes down at the gypsy pool.
Yeah. I have come to the distinct and unalterable conclusion that even Matt Weiner himself is not aware of these coincidences. And I'm sure that, before they write the season, they have a viewing of other great TV shows like maybe Deadwood. I'm not sure if that I think that came out before Mad Men. But they definitely watch like that corresponding season to Sopranos
Mm.
and just like make little notes. And there is shit that just pops into their subconscious that then pops out of the
Yeah.
Mad Men
Yeah.
screenplay. Because there are fucking undeniable similarities that like absolute like you're like, okay, I mean that's an insane coincidence.
Yeah. What was we were talking about the other day? Oh yeah, the episode like 2 weeks ago where there's pants pissers in both
Yeah,
series. And I was talking to
yeah.
Jenny kind of about us and doing this show. And I told her that. I was like, there's only one episode in the entirety of Mad Men and the entirety of Sopranos where someone pisses their pants. And they both happen in the exact same episode on both shows. And it never
Yeah.
happens ever again. And even just that little thing, she was like, are you serious? Like something
Mhm.
like that specific? Like, yeah, yeah. And it goes that small to big. And that is the whole purpose. And that's the reason we're 23 episodes in and still going strong here.
And I will say, I'm really like enjoying this, and every episode I'm trying to like step it up a little more. I
Mhm.
spent no less than 2 hours looking for the original script for this episode of Mad Men. I didn't even
Yeah.
have time to look for the Sopranos episode, and it is, as far as I can tell, my limited internet sleuthing expertise, it is not on the internet.
I've been shocked how hard it is to find scripts of all great shows. Like
Hmm.
Simpsons. I have a book that has a couple of Sopranos scripts
Hmm.
here, but I it's impossible to find them on the web. I think you and I on our hard drive have a couple of Simpsons scripts, but there have been a couple times in the
Hmm.
past where I was like, I would love to read this, and I can never find it.
And it's like I would pay American or European dollars for a book of like every season's script. Just like I will pay you 50 American dollars for season two's Mad Men scripts.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is not that doesn't happen. Doesn't exist.
Yeah, and just to read it and copy it and just have it absorb into your subconscious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just like look at it and write it myself as if it came out of my own fingers.
yeah. Um,
Fuck
who
yeah.
who was it that I remember reading that somebody rewrote The Great Gatsby, like some famous
Hunter
author?
S. Thompson.
Is
Hunter
that
S.
was that it?
Thompson.
Wrote
Yeah, yeah.
Gatsby so he could feel it like
Yeah.
come out of him?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah, I
don't know why
remember
I chose
hearing
that
that.
book because I hate fucking Gatsby.
I love F. Scott Fitzgerald. Him and Hemingway, I think, are awesome.
Dude, F Scott Fitzgerald, man. Hate that guy.
You had a bad AP literature teacher.
I
You
I
poor man.
That's one way to put it. Um, yeah, let's okay, so here's another one I got here. Um, both characters are kind of thrown into the life that they sell people. Tony sells on the
Mm.
feds that he is a garbage man, that he is a family man. In this episode, he is removed from the mob. He has to go be a garbage man. He has to go be a family man. Don is now thrown into the life that he sells, one of luxury, one of lavishness, one of sex. And both of them flounder in that world that they're now
Mm.
completely
Mhm.
absorbed in.
Yes. I wrote the exact same thing, but a different way. I have both episodes. You know, wow, what a wild coincidence. Both episodes have the protagonists in strange new locales.
Yeah.
Both of these episodes are
Fish
fish
out
out
of
of water
waters.
episodes.
Yeah.
Like there's not been a fish out of water episode so far in either of these seasons. Well, what are the
The
odds?
the closest you could get to it would be when they go to Italy in Sopranos, the commendatory episode.
Mhm.
Um, but that even isn't as played as much. Tony doesn't experience as much uncertainty or uncomfortableness in Italy as he does being in his own home and being in his own job
Well,
here.
these are literally like potential new lifestyles and life paths.
Yeah.
That's a trip, that's a business trip. That to me is like, not as severe of a potential, new life path.
Diversion.
Like
Yeah.
both of them consider like, okay, this is my life now.
Hmm.
There,
Yeah.
there there's specific moments in each protagonist's experience through these episodes where they're like, maybe I should do this
Hmm.
forever.
Yeah. Yeah, or I'm stuck here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, "Oh, wow, what a coincidence." Oh, and both of them, bang women much younger than themselves in
Yeah, yeah,
these
I have it
shows
written
with
down
this.
here that, Don bangs the 19-year-old gypsy hottie, and Tony bangs the garbage woman.
And that's not even a slight, that's just
No,
what
she's
she
the garbage
is.
woman. She's the woman who
She
works at the
works
garbage
with
but,
garbage.
it's hard to tell who won. If you wanted to go a side by side comparison, I who knows? It's a coin flip. But the point is, they both get some strange in their new land.
Mhm. And I will, hats off to the Sopranos, casting directors because that girl, like, cast a I'm
Mhm.
like, "Wow." Like I could see that from space.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Good
it's dead on.
God.
The show casts so many like real people in and around the New Jersey area. I wonder if like she's just the secretary for some business in New Jersey. Like she's so dead on and so good at it and
Yeah.
looks the part
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
like somebody the casting director went into some office and she was sitting there and they were like, "Wait a minute. Do you blow a bunch of people in this office? Would you like to be on television?" She's like, "Yes."
Well, come on into this casting couch real quick, and we'll get you right on set.
Right this way. Um, Tony does a little has a line to Melfi in this episode where he says to her, "I'm bored. I don't want to come here no more." And I feel like that is, not only is that Tony's drive throughout this whole episode, it's what sends Don off too. Like just this, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't like this. I'm gone. Peace out. Like that could just be like the through line statement for both episodes that send
Mhm.
them down these paths.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, boredom.
Yeah.
Um I felt like Don in this episode, like obviously we've seen him do very well with women throughout the show up to this point. But this was like a new level of success to where I felt the power dynamics and the tables had turned. And
Yeah.
he was essentially the trophy wife,
Mhm.
the trophy partner, and she was the aggressor, and he was like, just looked pretty and didn't say much.
That's exactly what she says, but that's the line. "My dad likes you because you're handsome and you don't talk too much."
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Like
even
the
even in the scene where him and Joy have sex for the first time, I think, and she gets on top of him and takes her top
Mhm.
off and lays it next to him, even he's just sitting there just kind of very stiff, very like you said, very like he is the accessory, like he is almost viewing all of this, like he's not the direct partner in this in a weird way. Like I feel like that very stiff, very just a part of it. Like
Yeah.
that's a great
Yeah.
observation you made there.
And the Willie, her dad, he it felt like, my dad has never kind of directly contributed to me, like, meeting in some beautiful woman,
Thanks,
but
Dad. Thought
but
you were
kind
my
of in
wingman, Dad.
but kind of indirectly,
Yeah.
and afterward he's like, "Hey Chris, how'd it go?" And then I tell him, and he's like, "Oh, fuck yeah, high five." And that was the energy I got, like, from Willie walking in on them. He was like,
Yeah.
"Joy, nice."
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like congratulating your, like, your up and coming kid, your college kid, like, hooking up with some hottie that you both know.
I don't see I don't see myself recreating this scene with either of my daughters in 15 years.
Hey,
I,
give it
I
time.
I just I don't know, man. Unless we really hit it big and just become rich drifters and weirdos, I don't know. I don't know. That whole thing was really weird.
Hey, man, to each their own.
Yeah.
Um, I really, connected with the line that Willie shared. They're all, uh, just super interested in Don and everything he does. Like their first interaction, Willie goes, "Are you an actor?" And Don's
Yeah,
like, "No." He's like, "Are you an astronaut?" And he's like, "No." And I fucking died laughing because that is so funny for some reason I'm not
yeah,
even completely conscious of. And then later in the episode, Willie goes, "We are obsessed with professions, and yet none of us have one."
yeah.
And it seems to me that both of these episodes revolve around that. Tony doesn't have a real profession. He fucks
No,
around with his buddies.
no. And to get back to that comment, my favorite running through line throughout the entirety of The Sopranos is Tony when he gets home and to Melfi constantly harping on how hard he works and how he busts his ass all day, every day for this 10,000 square foot house. And he busts his ass and all this stuff. He goes to a strip club and sits around with his buddies all day. He reports to a strip club, or he goes to the pork store and he sits around there all day. And people bring him money. He doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Sure,
And
these other
I
guys
love
go out and commit robberies and bring him back money. He's connected, but he doesn't do anything.
yeah. And I love just how clearly they identify Tony as just and his friends as just a bunch of kids.
Yeah,
Like Sil calls Tony. He's like, "Tony, you got to get down here. We got all this cool
I love that. I
WW2
love that scene.
memorabilia." They're just like they're literally little kids that just like found a bunch of shit in like their dad's closet.
Yeah, they're dressing up and playing
Yeah,
around.
you got to get down here and play with us.
I do love the dialogue that they give Pussy in this scene. Um, because he sounds the dialogue he says
Oh,
is
it's
related to
so
him being
yeah,
a turncoat. We have ways of dealing with you, Mr. Soprano. Um, um, we're
yeah.
watching you, Mr. Soprano. It all connects directly
S
to him being a
Dude,
rat too.
it's so telling, yeah.
Yeah,
And that's like, dude, that oh, I have like a cinema boner just thinking about that.
yeah,
That like that's something that you can only do in a 13-hour movie.
mhm,
Like if you were just doing these one-off episodes, like, "All right, you write episode 7, I'll write episode 12, like blah blah blah." There's no way you're gonna get like that level of detail and connection and like unconscious like telling.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I totally agree on that, and that's why the last season is my favorite. I feel like every single episode that season feels like a Kubrick movie, and
Mhm.
every like single dot between those like 7 episodes just connects in such a meticulous, beautiful way to bring us to the end. Um, I that's jumping ahead a little bit. That's my favorite part of The Sopranos. Um,
Mhm.
Chris, did you pop on Sopranos when they said Saint Swithin's Day? We
Is it
love when
Saint
Saint Swithin's
Swithin's
Day
Day?
makes an appearance.
I'm sure I did, but I am failing to remember when that happened in the episode.
Bobby says that he's gonna be picking up some snacks later on, and Uncle Junior's like, "When? Saint Swithin's Day?"
Yeah. Yes, I found Uncle Junior just hysterical in this episode.
Yeah, yeah, he's great.
And
I
okay,
wish
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I wish that his elderly girlfriend had stuck around a little bit more. I think she's interesting and gives Junior another layer because we never see her ever again. And I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
she adds a new layer to Junior. I like how they play off of each other. My other favorite thing about their relationship, and this goes all the way back to when I first saw this episode, was I love that the last scene of them is them watching Diagnosis Murder, just an absolutely 1990s CBS primetime old person programming. Because I used to make fun of my mom and her mom for watching that show. And then, like, in this episode, these two old people are watching this TV show. The Sopranos gets old people so good. So good. It's those
Yeah,
details that really put it over the top.
yeah. Um, speaking of Cusimano the Coos Hound, I have both episodes have the protagonists getting laid almost against their will. I would say that Tony didn't want to have sex, so he was just so insanely bored
Yeah, yeah. What
that he
else do I
did
have to
it.
do?
So both episodes have both protagonists getting laid almost against their will, while the secondary character can't buy a passing glance from anyone they would want to have sex with. Pete's at the pool, like literally his papers fly right into those cute girls and they hand it and then walk off. They're like,
They don't
"Beat
even
it,
look him in the
nerdlinger."
face. Nothing. Yeah, nerdlinger. That's a good. Yeah.
My note was like,
Are these
Pete
your
is
papers, nerdlinger?
Pete is nerdlinger in this episode. And then Uncle June is like he's got this smoke show nurse that he's just like throwing everything he can think of at who is probably narking on him
Yeah,
and
yeah. Who's probably a federal agent.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah
I
I
mean,
thought that was
if you're in
what a
Junior's
coincidence.
position, I mean, wouldn't that be a coin flip whether this woman's a federal agent or not?
Hmm.
Just assume that she is. You know,
Yeah.
like just I wouldn't have Bobby there because then I'm with known undesirables. Like I would just I would make sure no one was there. Yeah, because she's a Fed. She's a Fed.
Yeah, she's 100% a fit. So yeah, what a wild coincidence that we have,
Mhm.
our protagonists just going on these amazing adventures, and then to further emphasize how amazing they are, the secondary characters just can't buy a bucket.
And you know what? While we're going down the list of characters, let's go to the antagonist and let's see if there's any similarities between the antagonists in these episodes. Over on Mad Men, we have Duck beginning to make his move, going to the board and beginning to facilitate the sale to Putnam Powell and Lowe. And then over on Mad Men, we have Richie starting to make his move and beginning to elicit Uncle Junior and some others to make a move against Tony.
Ah,
What?
what the?
I can't believe it.
And it's like the two antagonists seem to have some sort of deep insight on one of the key characters that they can leverage to their own benefit.
This is so odd.
What? My God, the coincidences here.
But no, like the scenes almost mirror each other with like Duck going to the board and him going to different going to Putnam Powell and Lowe and going back to Sterling Cooper. And now we have like Richie getting chewed out by Tony at the garbage man's ball and him going to Junior and starting to really make a play there. I I you put the scenes next to each other. I feel like if you just swapped out like the names that each antagonist says, it's the exact same like conversation. Speaking of which,
Yeah.
that the rant Tony gives at the garbage man's ball is one of the best in the entire series.
Oh,
It's one that is infinitely quotable, where he gets on about the Manson lamps, and I
bro,
hate the
that
way
I
you
wrote
make me.
that line down.
I hate the way
I
you make
was
me
like,
fucking ride you. And it all starts off so good because he just walks over. He's like, "Hey, Richie, can I talk to you real quick?" And he's like, "Oh, you got any blow?" He's like, "Whoa, what do you mean?" "Well, blow, coke." Just what? I got to go to the fucking deli in Nutley to get it.
yeah,
It's
dude,
such a great one, man.
that Manson lamps line,
Yeah,
like someone wrote that down on the back of a napkin in middle school, and they're like, someday this line will pay off.
yeah, yeah. Don't give me your Manson lamps. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's so good.
yeah,
And they cut to him.
that's
He's
it.
got that.
Yeah.
It's great. Um, I was thinking about Duck today, and I remember reading somewhere, or maybe I thought this, maybe it was a conversation. I don't remember. But in The Office, in like season 5, the best The Office ever got was when they had Idris Alba come in and replace Michael. And then like that threw everyone off in the office, and Michael actually had something to do. Like that was the best the office ever got. But
Mm,
the very simple thing that made that work was that the idea, like, what if there was a boss who just didn't like Jim? What if there was a boss that just didn't think Jim was funny? And then everything Jim did would fall flat and he'd be an awful employee. And that's what Idris Alba's character was. And we
mm,
put that new twist on it. And in that same way, I feel like they were sitting around the Mad Men office writers room when they concepted of Duck, and they were just like, "What if someone couldn't drink in this world?" Just that very simple. How much mileage can we get out of that idea of everyone drinks all the time? What if there's a character that just can't drink? And then that is what's propelled Duck. I love all the little stuff with him drinking. Once again, us rewatching the season this year, there's so much of his alcoholism that I guess I just never noticed before. Him getting the Tanqueray case, and then when he goes in to do his pitch in this episode, he puts the mint in, so you know he's been like chugging all day. Just all the little
Yeah.
subtle things that they drop through there.
Yeah. And it's really you know, I think the brilliance of this episode is like Duck wouldn't know any of this shit if he wasn't just the pinnacle of loserdom. He
Mhm.
knows Roger's gonna be taken to the fucking cleaners and not have a pot to piss in because he got taken to the cleaners and now has no pot to piss in.
Mhm.
He went through the exact same thing, and he sees Roger, you know, being as stupid or stupider than he was, and to his credit, he leverages all of his loserdom, all of the insights he's gained from just being
From
the
eating
pinnacle
L after L after L.
of just a nonstop all you can eat L buffet, um, and he makes an incredible play, and you're like, "Holy fuck, where did
Yeah.
this come from?"
Yeah. It's like that alphabet. Remember the alphabet cereal? They had all the alphabets and letters in it. It's just that, but it's
Mhm.
all L's.
He's just he's just fucking
Just Duck eats that every morning with just pouring gin into it, just chomping
he
down.
doesn't even have any milk. It's just
No,
water.
you better put some water on that damn shit.
Yeah. Ugh.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, the only reason he knows all this is because he has become such a loser
Mhm.
that he's
I
now.
I have I have become lose king loser.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's that once you got it, if you got it, you spot it. It's that kind of
Mhm.
thing where it's like,
Yeah.
ooh, ooh, I smell loser blood in the water. And it's
No.
not my own blood for once. It's someone else's.
He traveled so deep down the loser rabbit hole, he actually came, like,
Yeah.
full circle.
It's
He
like
found
horseshoe
out as a
theory.
winner.
Yeah, horseshoe theory. He just came all the way back to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. While we're talking about
Oh.
things that worked in these episodes, and I think it's a whole lot, I'm gonna talk about something that didn't work. Um,
Mhm.
I hate Melfi's arc in this episode, and I hate Melfi's arc kind of like around this entire series, part of the
Yeah.
series, because she's drinking, she's unhappy, she can't treat Tony, and I just don't get it because you brought Tony back. You knew who he was. In Tony's defense, he hasn't been that bad. Like he hasn't yelled, he hasn't freaked out. He's been a pretty good patient. Even her biggest complaint about Tony to Cutterberg is that he talked about the Rico uh Elliot. He talked about the Rico Act for 20 minutes. Like, really? So what? Like, what is that? How's that the worst thing that's ever happened?
Yeah, you guys are
I
dancing around, like, multiple murders
Yeah, yeah. He
every
dances
session.
around murders. Like, look at
Yeah.
all that you've kind of connected on him with, and everything that he's exposed. And then the one episode where he talked, and then the unseen session where he talks about the Rico Act, and now that's the I got to get drunk before I see him thing. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, they, I felt like Melfi's entire presence in this episode was like an also ran slash
Mhm.
contractual obligation. Like
Yeah,
even like it felt like the writers were annoyed to have to include her because some of her lines were absolutely like sophomoric and
yeah,
annoying
yeah,
and just terrible.
dude. Could this be an instance where like you said, the writer's annoyance bled its way into the scene? Because even Tony's like, I'm bored. I don't want to come here. I
Wow.
don't even want to be in this room.
Yeah,
Where it's like,
yeah.
hey, we gotta go
Meta
write a
as
couple.
fuck.
We gotta write a couple Melfi scenes. I don't want to write a Melfi scene. Cool, use it. I don't want to be in the.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here. That's
Mhm.
the whole scene. Is just Tony talking about how he doesn't want to be here, and with
Yeah.
her being pithy and childish in return.
Mhm.
Like that
And
bleeds.
I think, you might be onto something there. And I agree with you. Like 98% of her presence in this episode is grating and annoying and unnecessary. And she has a line, we see her right before she just fucking shotguns Belvedere, and she's like talking to a couple. She's like, "You have 2 ears and one mouth, so
Oh yeah.
listen."
Oh
I was like,
yeah.
"What the fuck? Like,
Oh
why
my
did we
god.
need that?"
I hate that line. Every time I see that, I picture like I picture myself in this scenario where like I'm now being forced into couples counseling. This is costing me my pride and it's costing me $150 an hour. And like that's the thing I get back in return. You have two
Like
ears and one
fucking
mouth, Mr. Dennis. Why don't you use it properly? You
like the psychologist advice equivalent to Jane's poetry.
Yeah, yeah. Just like just to quote Tony, it's like, oh, it's like chicken soup for the soul. It's called tomato sauce for your ass. It's the Italian version. Like, shut up.
And I say all of that, and yet her contribution to the second to last scene in the episode is so monumental, that if you and easy to miss. Like I literally I was watching it, and they're talking, and I'm pretty tuned in, but I guess I'm spaced off for a second, and then the next scene is Tony no longer depressed. He's super happy. He's like fucking around with all his buddies at the pork store. And I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Like, wait, he was just about to kill himself. Why is he like the happiest guy in Springfield
Yeah.
now? And I literally rewound it. I was like, dude, I fucking missed something. I rewound it, and Melfi goes, well, like when these antisocial criminals like spend too much time by themselves, they start thinking about all the awful things they've done, and it drives them crazy. And like, no explanation, no like indication. Just next scene, Tony's back to what he always does, hang out with his friends, distract himself. He's happy as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. He's back
And
home.
and the exact same nar- narrative narrative structure on Mad Men. We
Yeah.
have Don in the pool, fully distracted. He's got this smoke show, little arm piece. He's got this crazy group of folks who are following the hobo code with infinite money.
Mhm.
And he's just like, this is the best of all possible worlds. This is everything that I love. And it's just, a tired, divorced dad with two angry, hungry kids walks in, and he's like, "Ah, fuck."
Oh,
And
now back
and
to, yeah,
neither
here it is.
show neither show like telegraphs these decisions, or even tells it. Like, Mad Men doesn't even show Don leaving.
No.
We just know,
Yeah.
because these shows respect the fucking audience,
Yeah.
which is why we like them,
Mhm.
which is why Bruce Wayne never could have gotten back to Gotham. You fucking idiot.
Yeah, I can't improve on that observation anymore. That was absolutely perfect. Um, yeah, we have the same narrative systems set up in both, where
Narrative
they each come to this
device.
conclusion.
Yeah.
We are given this information, and just by our protagonists' look on their face and what's being said, we as the audience know what they're gonna do. We then see it fulfill in the final scene. Getting back to that, both episodes end really with both protagonists being in a sense of peace, and then we're closing with them kind of in their home element. We have Tony back at the pork shop, iconic imagery of Tony at the pork shop, iconic imagery of Don. We have the shot of his back of the
Mhm.
logo. We fade out on that. Each episode's fade out on arguably the most iconic imagery of both characters.
I noticed something in this Mad Men episode I don't think I've experienced in any other Mad Men episode. when he is at the country club and runs into Joy for the second time, we hear the Mad Men score playing. It's kind of like a jazzier,
Mhm.
like more upbeat version of it. And I'm like, I, I I can't think of another time that I've heard the theme song played during an episode.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I
Look,
because I can picture the song. I get because it's like ching 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 fit ching 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 because
yeah,
it's got a little bit more
it was like
jingle
a
in it.
funkier like a
Yeah,
happier version of it.
yeah. It's like a swinging '60s version of it. Like it's the yeah the musical cue. Um,
Yeah.
there's a yeah there's a similar musical cue in that I really like in Frozen, and then also
Mhm.
in Return of the Jedi that does something similar where the movie ends with um a version of a song previously in the film that was like that was different, but now it's either happier
Mhm.
or sadder. Like when Vader dies in Jedi, we play the Imperial March, but it's only on the piano with one key. That bum bum ba bum bum. That's all gone. Now it's just dink 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 because
Mhm.
Vader's gone. And over on Frozen, I think they do a real good job of that too. The movie ends with uh the song Do You Want to Build a Snowman, but it's a happier version of it to show how far the characters have come. And I
Mhm.
really like when films and stuff do that, where they take that iconic music, that iconic sound, and tailor it to individual scenes and give it a little bit of a twist. I really like when they do that.
Yeah. My buddy, maybe like 5 years ago, he had this weird music editing app that I
Mhm.
think he used AI even before AI was like a big thing. And he turned the 3-minute Jurassic Park theme
Oh
song
yeah,
into a 60-minute song. And you're listening to it and you're like, I've never heard this, but it's so familiar.
yeah. I think you mentioned that yeah an earlier
Yeah,
episode.
and then, this last Jurassic Park, like, in the preview, like, used a slowed down version of the theme song,
No
and
kidding.
it's like it's like, apparently our memory, remembers things we love in every speed because it
Yeah,
doesn't matter. We're like, "Ah, yeah," we don't even not even conscious of it.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. We
"Fuck
we
yeah."
still grab onto it.
Yeah.
I've got two other things I want to touch base on real quick.
Yep.
Don's ability to remember people's names is always amazing to me, and I'm always envious of.
Yeah.
Like
Especially the Willie's full name.
Willie Monk de Comte de Bonsabalclibo, and he gets it 100% right.
Dude,
And
that
I'm
he
like,
made up that fucking name to fuck with Don to see if he
I
could
always
remember it.
feel stupid because I go into like groups and I meet like three people for the first time, and their names are Chris, Michael, and John, and even I can't remember that like 30 seconds later. I'm just like, wait, who was
Yeah.
you were Jimmy, right? And you're Miguel? Oh shit.
Yeah, I always try to say the person's name 10 times and correlate them with another person I know who has their
Yeah.
name. So if their name's real fucked up and I don't know anyone with that name, that's like that's a tough one.
Yeah.
And Don fucking breezes through that shit.
Yeah. You
Made
mean
up
like
names.
Willie Count de Mont de Busca Busco?
Yeah. Dude, I looked it up because I didn't have time to go back to the episode and look at it. It's not listed anywhere. His name's just listed as Willie. I was like, what's his full fucking name? I asked ChatGPT like 10 times, like, what's his
Really?
name? And ChatGPT's like, Willie, Willie. Like, what's his full
Yeah, we have to
name?
go in and like pull up the actual like closed
Yeah.
captioning on it.
Yeah.
Um the other observation I have real quick is in the beginning of Mad Men when they're back in the office and Peggy and Sal and everybody are talking about the Loretta Young show, which is,
Mhm.
I guess a show on TV at that time. But Sal talks about like how crappy the set is and how they always have unexpected guests showing up on this show in a fake way. And in my head, I'm picturing like, oh, the Loretta Young show must have been like a bad Krusty the Clown special where like Krusty's in the kitchen. It's like, oh,
That's
hi,
what it's
I didn't
based
hear
on.
you come in. And then the windows open, Kent Brockman's like behind it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he goes, oh, here are my guests. And they open the door and they're just like, oh, it's quarterback Roger Staubach. Yay!
I think, dude, I think you've just stumbled upon like one of the deepest unconscious connections we have to Mad Men. Mad Men, the children in Mad Men grew up to be the writers of Simpsons.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all of their pop culture references we absorbed through the Simpsons.
Yeah. We had
So
already had
we
them.
like
Well, one of my favorite running jokes in all of The Simpsons is how Krusty used to have like a serious political talk show in the
is
past.
there a labor crisis?
Yeah, yeah. There's like the Krusty the Clowns. There's that, and then like in this later on in the late '60s, early '70s, it's like croon along with Krusty, and he's into drugs and everything. Like
Yeah.
there's different eras of the Krusty the Clown show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
It's
Krusty, that depends
so
on what you
good.
mean by crisis.
Yeah. Awesome. You got any other similarities?
That's it for me, man. I only had 5 pages worth.
Only okay. Only 5 pages. Okay, so, this one's a barn burner, and it's the first time I've been looking for something like this, so I was very excited. So, in Sopranos, Tony is moping around, like, searching for meaning and peace in the kitchen, and the song that is playing is "You've Gotta Serve Somebody" by Bob Dylan.
Okay, yeah.
And in the Mad Men,
Mm,
Peggy and Kurt go to all everyone's talking about is Bob Dylan, and
yeah.
they go to see Bob Dylan. You're telling me that the writers of this episode, rewatch Mad Men, rewatch Sopranos to kind of like get the structure in their subconscious. They're like, "Oh fuck, I love Bob Dylan. Man, I wish I could have seen him in the '60s. Let's have Peggy and Kurt go see him. This is 1962. He's playing right down the fucking street."
That's a good connection. That's real good. Yeah. Yeah, and that's like a major plot point. They discuss Bob Dylan like 5 times.
Yes.
And
Yes.
how often on Sopranos do you have like an entire scene where no one talks and there's just music? That doesn't happen
Mhm.
very often either. But
Yeah.
we get like a solid 90 seconds of just Dylan and Tony just like pumping around.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good
Yeah.
connection. I like that.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah. I was I was excited. I was like,
Yeah.
Mike's never gonna fucking realize that one.
I no, no, I didn't. I didn't. I really love both these episodes. I think they're great.
Me
I
too.
think these are tens. I think both shows end with tens from here on out.
Mhm.
I've
Yeah.
I
I
they're all so
I
good. I find myself like watching the next 3 episodes after like you and I do this. Like I'll watch
Mhm.
the Mad Men and then I'll just watch the next two. I feel like I've watched the last 3 episodes of that season now like 3 times in the last 2.5 weeks because I just keep going. I just like let it keep
Yeah.
playing while I'm doing stuff
Yeah.
'cause I don't get
Um
tired of them.
obviously, I'm obsessed with this episode for many increasingly disturbing reasons. Um, I was so convinced that this group of like rich hobo code nomads, I'm like, these are like they're like trickster gods, or they're like the gods of hedonism,
Yeah.
or there's some like underlying like pagan thing here, and I fucking scoured the internet looking for some connection here. ChatGPT
Uh-huh.
had nothing, YouTube had nothing, the wikis like less than nothing,
Yeah.
but I'm still not swayed.
Yeah.
Like these just seem like fever dream. Like, did Don not even wake up after he passed out?
Like yeah,
Did
like
Don just
they're all living archetypes
yeah, yeah.
that yeah, like archons that they are symbolic of a larger thing and now he's
Mhm,
interacting with them on a different plane in some way. It's like
yeah.
I think Bigfoot's real, but I don't think he's real in the sense like you can hit him with a hammer. Like I feel like Bigfoot is like the manifestation of the woods and mankind's past, and sometimes he
Mm.
presents himself in front of people.
He's like the spirit of the forest.
Yeah, yeah, and of like
Yeah.
ethereal human past. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like that
Yeah,
is what
yeah.
Bigfoot is. in the same way, like these people are rich, nomad, hedonistic like visions
Mhm.
that present themselves in a similar way.
Yeah. Yeah, this, to me, they're the perfect amalgamation of like everything that Don thinks he wants and values.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, I think in a person's life as they ascend, in not necessarily well to do, but in a directed, like successful person's life, they're presented with options and I'm sure there's not many people who are presented with like, "Hey, do you wanna go live with all these sexy nomads?" Like, that doesn't happen. But, like, spiritually, mentally, like, kind of emotionally, you're like,
Yeah.
"Shit, should I try to find that?"
Yeah. You're presented with it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's like a potential path. And it seems like everything was just so, like, perfectly orchestrated. I'm like, "These are trickster gods, or
Mhm.
he's,
Yeah.
imagining this, or he fell down and fucking hallucinated it." Like, there's
Yeah.
2 key moments when he gets in the car and when he passes out, you're like, this could be a fucking dream sequence.
Mhm.
This could be all a hallucination."
Yeah. Yeah. Even the game they play where they're like rattling off the different cities.
Mhm.
The way it flows, the way people like pick up what the last person's saying, and just how it all goes
Yeah,
back and
yeah.
forth. Like, yeah,
It's
it
too
feels very
dreamlike.
swimmy, very
Perfect.
dreamy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, I'm not, swayed from them, being some sort of, trickster god,
Yeah.
hedonistic god.
You should go back and rewatch the scenes and look for like some hidden imagery
Yeah,
and
there's,
stuff
like,
like in the background.
pentagrams and and
Yeah.
and there's, like, if you look just right, someone's,
Yeah. Yeah.
sacrificing a goat.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. There's like a copper bowl where they cut the goat's throat over it like
Yeah.
yesterday. And
Yeah. One last thing, I
go ahead.
my favorite one of my favorite lines in all of cinema, television history. Dawn gets in her car, she goes, "Do you wanna grab your bags?" He goes, "No."
Nope. No.
It's like, ah,
Yeah. Yeah. The way Don delivers those little lines
no.
is perfect. This was a great
Yes.
episode, Chris. I'll
Alright.
talk to you soon.
Alright, great
Another
episode,
great one,
man.
man. I'll talk to you next
Yeah.
week for another good one.
Alright. See you, brother.
Yeah.
Good job by you.